Hello, Intellectual Chocolate family. I am so excited to be coming to you today. I know it's been a moment, but I have a special interview for you today. Before I get started, make sure if you want to get actually interviewed on Intellectual Chocolate, go to intellectualchocolate.com, complete the form. We're looking to have conversations, of course, with intelligent Black minds like the young lady I have with me today. I have Miss Laure Carter from LaureCarter.com. We're going to get into a conversation about health. I'm your host, Franny West, and I'm just excited to be with you guys today. I feel like it's been a minute, but I'm back. So we're gonna get this started. So now, Laure, let's just go ahead and introduce yourself to the viewers and tell them who you are.
Okay, very well. Thank you, Ronick, and thank you for having me today. I'm really, really excited about having this conversation with you. So my name is actually Laure Carter from LaureCarter.com. And yes, it's oftentimes pronounced Laurie because the E at the end, but it's French. My first name is French, and it's the final E in French is always silent. So we pronounce it Laure Carter. And I am an Ayurvedic diet and lifestyle practitioner, as well as a yoga and meditation teacher, and actually a plant-based healthy cooking chef. And I use all those tools to help women have a healthier relationship with foods and with their bodies. And if they're wanting to lose weight, to shift from a very restrictive diet approach to a healthy lifestyle, whole health, holistic approach.
Nice. So now I was kind of course, reading up on you, and you do have an interesting background. Now, where are you from? And just tell us about your journey growing up.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. It's very interesting. So I'm actually French American. I'm African American on my father's side. I was born here in South Florida, and I am French on my mother's side. And really living in South Florida in the 1960s was very challenging for a multiracial couple. And my mom ultimately left to the island of Martinique, which is in the French West Indies. And it used to be a French colony, and it is now called a overseas French department, which was really a blessing for me because she's originally from France. I did live part of my life in Paris and hated it. I did. So living in Martinique, I just felt right at home with people like me, basically, and being in nature.
Okay. Why did you hate Paris, can I ask?
Yes.
Okay.
So many Americans, so we have this idea, especially in the African-American community, that back in the 30s, 40s, all the way perhaps to the 60s, African-American artists were welcomed in Paris, right? And it's true, they were welcomed. But in my personal experience, living in Paris, you do have an experience of prejudice that is, I would say, even worse than in the United States because it's not overt. You know, you don't quite get like, was that real? Did that really happen? It's not overt, but there's quite a bit of prejudice in Paris. And then it's a very individualistic. So it's everyone to each his own and everyone for themselves. And there's not a big sense of community there like we can have here, except that if you went to the south of France, it would be a little different because then you have people coming from all over the place, and especially former French colonies. And there's more of a mix of culture and traditions and knowledge and ideas. It's much more different than living in Paris. Yes.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. But I've been studying a lot about other countries, so that was just one of my questions. We're gonna, of course, get into the health, but I have learned that racism is definitely global. And I think America has, unfortunately, in your face and the overt, where you're like, okay, was that racist? And then you realize it was. I got to do this too.
Yes, but at least you know where you stand.
Yeah. So, or you can figure. Sometimes you don't know though. It is a lot that goes on you don't know in America.
Yes,
it's interesting.
that's true.
Yeah. I think every country that has been developed had some type of slavery, or like what you learned to get the country to where it is today. Yes. So then all those historical things still exist, unfortunately. Doesn't matter where it's at, is what I'm learning, especially if it was really heavily metropolitan.
Yes.
So,
yeah. Yes.
So let's get into this conversation, because I guess, I was really interested because you had the 3-month program that helps women transform their health. So tell us a little bit more about that, and then I probably gonna have a lot of questions, because you said that it's more of really transforming, and then the result of it is weight.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I do market it as a weight loss program, or a sustainable and permanent weight loss program, because most of us as women are interested in feeling good in our bodies, right? And looking good as well, which there's nothing wrong about that. It's totally, absolutely normal, so that we can really, be into our queen being, right?
Yes.
Yes, I love those earrings. So, but in truth, because I'm using the tools of Ayurveda, and I'll tell you a little bit more about Ayurveda, is that the difference is that the weight loss approach is really, as I said earlier, a health and balance approach. It's more of a holistic approach, which personally I feel, my own personal experience, but as well as working with my clients, and I work mainly with women. I'm a big feminist at heart, so I want to support women as much as I can, because you probably know this. How you feel in your body really affects how you're going to interact with other people, or how confident you will be in the world, right? Yes. Yeah. So absolutely. So that's why I want to serve women and help them reach that confidence that you can only really gain when you're feeling full of energy, when you're feeling youthful, when you're feeling, light in all sense of the word, right? In terms of lightness. So what I teach in this program, in this 3-month program, is healthy lifestyle choices, as well as healthy food choices and habits that ultimately result in almost effortlessly in weight loss. But what happens when you focus on health, it's not just results short term, you get results long term for the rest of your life. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. I love it, because, and then we'll get a little bit into my journey. I think follow me on social media. If you're joining us today on Intellectual Chocolate, you've probably heard of my weight loss story. So I used to weigh over 300 pounds. So I've lost a lot of weight, and twice actually over 100 pounds. The first time I think it was short term. The second time I really focused on my health and changing my habits. Like if you just notice here, like I have my beet juice that is kept drinking for the morning, and I was eating those kale chips. So I'm passionate about health too, because I think it's just, for me though, you said a couple things. One, about the confidence. I feel like I was way more confident when I was heavier. And I don't know what it is. It might have been, somebody said once, well, because you had it. So that's interesting, to me, because I think if you really struggle with obesity, or, being heavy, then you really do have that kind of, I don't know, it's different. Like I would say I'm more conscious now of the way I look and stuff. But when I was heavier, I was like really confident. I wore like different stuff, this and other more. I'm like, now I'm like, even though I'm smaller, it's still like it's a conscious thing. So it's very mental.
Yes.
But I'm very passionate about getting people to just get healthy. Like you said, I think for me, I always see people looking for quick results or short-term results, or are they like, well, I want to be this size, and they don't never really focus on the health first. And I'm like, get healthy first, and then once you maintain it for some years, then decide if you want to go to the next level. Like you want to like be a, you know, a athlete or go into a competition or whatever, then go from there. But I see so many people start and stop because they're focused on just that main weight loss. And I'm like, no, just focus on your overall health. And then you'll see that the weight will come off. You'll get to a healthy weight. Learn how to maintain that, because maintenance, I think, is harder almost than losing the weight, to be honest.
Yes.
And then you'll learn how to maintain that, and then you'll get better. But what's your thoughts on that? Because that's just my journey. And, you know, I've been through a journey for like about 10 years, but the last 5 years I've stayed, you know, the same weight. Because, but I know my lifestyle has tremendous.
Yes, wonderful. I absolutely, totally agree with you. And thank you for sharing your personal experience in terms of feeling more confident when you were heavier.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it isn't because for some women, and it might not be your case, but for some women, the weight is a protection. It's a shield, right, from the world outside. And I say this because I've kind of heard it and seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen women lose weight and then get uncomfortable because of how other people, especially men, were looking at them.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you go a little bit deeper, you can find perhaps earlier in their lives some discomfort around how the world were looking at them. Right.
Wow.
So yeah, I thank you for sharing this, because I understand that very well. I'm myself, I would say curvaceous. I'm thin, but I have hips and I have a butt, and I went through teenage years of, you know, going into a taxi or a bus and then men grabbing the butt and all of that. And that did affect my self-confidence. That did affect me to some degree. So that's why I wonder if there isn't part of that a way of protecting oneself. But in terms of what you said afterwards, that get healthy first. Absolutely. And so because, and it's interesting, even more so because from a point of view of Ayurveda, weight gain is a precursor symptom of more important or more serious imbalances, symptoms, and disease. And it's not even today just from the point of view of Ayurveda. Even in Western modern medicine, we're recognizing that diseases that we call the affluent disease, which is really I don't know that there's so much the affluent disease, as there are the Western modern disease of heart disease, diabetes, cancer, obesity. Those are today recognized that they're related to weight gain oftentimes, right? It starts with weight gain. It starts with weight issues. It starts with abdominal or visceral fat. It starts with all that. Right. So definitely leading with the health. And I think it's even a better motivation, isn't it? Because a lot of the women, when they talk to me and they say, oh, I'm just being vain. I know it's about my vanity. I just want to lose extra pounds and what have you. But the truth is I veer them back to, well, actually, no, it isn't. It's about your health. And their motivation when they realize that is much greater. Because if it's just vanity, then, you know, we have this thing about vanity being one of the sins. Right. You know, that vain is not a good thing. So we may not be as motivated to lose the weight if it's just for the sake of vanity, because unconsciously or subconsciously we're programmed to think that it's not good to be vain. But when we think in terms of health, then we can really get motivated into taking care of ourselves. You know, very good examples now, as the women around me, my age, my generation, are having parents who did not take care of themselves. And now they have to take care of their parents because they have so many health issues. Yes. So we need to have a little bit of perspective and realize, hey, if we don't take good care of this now, imagine the burden that we're going to put onto our children later.
Yes.
Do we
Yes.
really want that?
Yes.
No.
That's a good segue. Let me just all the viewers, if you just tuning in, I'm your host, Ronnie West, Intellectual Chocolate. I'm talking to Laure. Did I say that right?
Yes.
She's stylish because she's French American. So, and she's gorgeous, as you guys can see, of course. We're talking about health. Really, she's very passionate about getting women healthy. You can check her out at laureporter.com to get more information. She has a 3-month program. She focuses on women of color, African American women, and so forth, because we have to first get healthy. And you just brought up a really good point. So we're going to go into that a little bit. But before I do that, make sure you share this out, comment, like, and subscribe to Intellectual Chocolate Podcast. And if you're interested in getting interviewed, make sure you go to intellectualchocolate.com, because we're always looking for more brilliant Black women to interview. Now, I always say, and I want to take a step back because I didn't get into your background and why you got passionate about health, so we'll get into that. But before we do that, I talk about Generation X a lot, because I'm Generation X, and a lot of people, they always talk about baby boomers, and they always talk about millennials. But I really feel like we get overlooked. We're like the first generation where we probably are taking care of kids and we're taking care of our parents. And like you said, our parents are dealing with a lot of health issues because they just didn't take care of themselves. Maybe it's from, them eating bad, or like, alcoholism, or whatever it may be.
Smoking.
Yes, smoking, like it's a huge one. I remember when I've never picked up smoking. I never picked up drinking, a lot of different things. And the only thing I had was my weight. And when I got to a certain point, I always had a good blood pressure. Blood work was always good, this and other. And I just got to a point where I got like in my 30s, I was just like, I've never had any serious health issues. There's no reason why I can't lose 100 pounds and get to a healthy weight and maintain that before I develop something. Like because I had stayed away from everything else, I said, but I hadn't controlled my weight. I was like, I need to get healthy. I don't want to be perfect. I don't be fine, but I want to be able to run if I need to. I want to be able to do push-ups, do sit-ups, and just work out if I want to, or work out 3 times a week, just to maintain, find out, make sure I'm putting the right things in my body. Like, I can do that, and I said that would be, it was just a revelation to me before I started experiencing my parents, my mother, thank God, is healthy and gorgeous as well, blessed genes. But my dad, unfortunately, he suffers majorly from his liver, like, not working, so forth, smoking, so forth, and all, just not taking care, not eating the right things and the food and so forth. He's young, he's 60 something, and I'm like, that's still young, to be experiencing all this and to see that, and it just breaks my heart. But it makes you like motivated to be even more healthier, for yourself, because like you said, you don't want to put that burden on your child. Like, I only have one daughter, but I always talk about when I leave, I don't want her to do a funeral or anything. I want her to live her life, put me in the ocean somewhere. Don't do it. Like, I don't want her stressed at all. So I would hate for her to have to go through that with me, with things I can prevent. So yes, I think, I'm happy that we're going into this. I think a lot of people go into this mindset of healthy eating. Some people are choosing vegan. Some people are, I think it's, I've heard about something where people just eat seafood now. They're getting so many different names for different choices. They're coming up with pescatarian. That's what I think it is. They got vegan, and then they have vegetarians and so forth. So everybody's really focused on health, doing the juices and so forth. But I think, even if you don't go to that extreme, it is definitely things you can, curtail to help you stay healthy, and just really be conscious of what's happening with your body. But you just brought up a good point. I just wanted to expand on that a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, Generation X, I try, my intention is to catch women from 35 to 55, because that's really the time when our hormones are also changing. Yes. And so, and as you probably already know, it does have an impact on our heart health. It has an impact on our, even on our nervous system health, and also on our digestive health. So this is really the range, mainly for me, this is the age range of my clients between 35 and 55. So I can get them before they start experiencing the way that I did, some of the health challenges that come with all of these changes in the body. And, you know, one point that I wanted to make in terms of what you just said, in terms of all of these different diets and what have you, you're right, there's so many diets to choose. And I'm Ayurveda, and myself personally, I think that we here in the West and in the modern nutritional approach, the diet approach, whether it is vegan, vegetarian, seafood, Mediterranean, which I hear a lot of.
Wow.
I think a lot of hospitals are now asking their patients, especially their patients with heart disease, to go onto the Mediterranean diet, whatever that means. So
Right.
from an Ayurvedic point of view, and in my own personal experience and observation, I have found that there's too much focus on what diet. And really, it doesn't have to be like that. We can eat the foods we love and not have to do something very drastic. But what Ayurveda does, and what Ayurveda focuses on is how well you digest the food you're eating. Because you can eat the best of foods. You know, I had clients, that was the best example. I remember many years ago, I had a client who told me, well, Laure, I don't understand. I steam my broccoli, I eat broccoli, it's a healthy food, right? But every time I eat it, I have gas and bloating, and it goes down from there. And so with from the point of vista of Ayurveda, I was able to tell her, well, it doesn't matter really how good the foods you eat are if you can't digest them. Because if you can't digest them, your body cannot turn it into the nutrients your cells need.
Yes.
And then if you can't digest them, you're actually accumulating waste. It becomes waste. And from an Ayurvedic point of view, I love to say that, and I think it's a big aha for a lot of women I speak to. Weight gain, the root cause of weight gain, and any imbalances for that matter, is a buildup of waste. It's a buildup of waste, whether it's a waste from the foods that your body isn't able to eat, to digest, whether it's a waste from the makeup we put on our face, especially as women, our skincare, our makeup, all of that, the toxins there are in our makeups, especially. That's another thing that I address in my coaching program, especially as women of color, because we have in our makeup, we have even more toxic products because of pigmentation than would, let's say, a makeup line for Caucasian women. You see, so we have to be even more aware of those things. So again, the root cause, whether of weight gain or any imbalances from an Ayurvedic point of view, is the buildup of that waste, the buildup of toxins that our body isn't capable of metabolizing, which is another word to say digestion, because that's what digestive system does. It doesn't just digest foods, it digests everything else that we take in through the whole of our body.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I've talked to trainers who focus on the digestive part, and that's like, and I think it's irritable bowel syndrome. It's a very common occurrence within our community, right?
Yes.
And I know a lot of people are always battling with that, and even like you just said, that it's when our hormones changed. It hit me this year. I turned 40, I'm almost 41, but I could tell like my whole like I'm going through a change or something. And I was just, whoa. Like, and you know, when you really pay attention to your body and you're health conscious or whatever, you can tell when things are changing. And so it's just like, okay, this is a change. I didn't warn me about this. You know, I always tell people, they said 40 was going to be great. And I was like, I don't know.
Yes, yeah.
I was good, and now it's like craziness. So I want to talk a little bit more about your background. I didn't cover that yet, but I want to know why, like, how did you get into this whole health thing and being conscious for women of color? And then what's your background? I know you do yoga and so forth, but just kind of tell us about your history so we'll know who we learned.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yes. So personally, when I reflect back, and I've been asked this question a lot, how did it start for you? And when I reflect back, I think it really started as a young girl. I was privileged to have my mother's, where my mother is from is Alsace-Lorraine. So Alsace-Lorraine is a place right between Germany and France, let's say. And so during World War II, and even before, over the years, Germany and French were fighting over Alsace-Lorraine. Okay. But anyway, the reason I'm saying this is because every holiday or every some weekends we would go out to my mother's little hometown, which is country. At that time, it was just country. And my grandparents had already passed away, but I was fortunate enough to still have my great aunt and great uncle. And, you know, I mean, it was so down to basics that they didn't really even have a place, a bathroom, basically, you know, where you go to the toilet. They didn't even have toilets, you know.
So outhouse. Really... They had outhouse?
Yes, outhouses, absolutely. And they had a barn, and they had, in the barn, they had hens, and they had a goat, and they basically had a garden and ate what they grew. And so it was my favorite time. I absolutely loved them. And I loved going into the garden with my mémé, my great aunt, or with my great uncle, my tonton Charles. And let me describe to you an every morning that was for me. So for me, I would get up, and then the hen would let us know, would cackle and let us know that she just laid an egg. And so I would just get down the stairs, go grab the egg, still warm. My mémé would be milking the goat, and you could smell the freshly baked bread in her oven. And that's what I had for breakfast. I had raw goat milk with raw bitten egg and fresh bread. I mean, you can't get it. I know, you can't get more natural than that. And then when my mother moved back to Martinique, I was even more blessed because I called her my adopted grandmother. My mother remarried. And my adopted grandmother, we just connected on the soul level. So I stayed with her in her little house. She had that she built with her own hands. She would tell me stories of working in the sugarcane, okay, as a young teenager and a young girl. I mean, I just learned so much from her. And she had a little plot of land, and she had some hens, and everything that we ate came from there. So, you know, this was normal living. This was, you know, we call it organic today, but organic is just a brand new word, really. Everything was already organic. So I got this sense of the connection between how I felt and nature at that time. And living in Martinique, you know, at that time was also, I would just go out on my own in the forests, in the countryside, you know, just look at animals, look at trees, pick up mangoes from the tree and just eat it there and sit. That is unfortunately an experience that a lot of children even today no longer have. So I was really blessed with that. And I believe that that's what formed me at an early age. And then later on, interestingly enough, I learned meditation. And I was listening to one of your podcasts from Georgia Woodbine. She's the one who wrote the book Total BS. I loved it. And she was talking about meditation. Yeah. And then what happened is I was discovered as a model. And really, when I saw what was going on in the modeling world, I went back to what I knew. That really helped me stay grounded in a very ungrounded world, right? Right. And so that's a bit of my background. Later, when I stopped my career, my modeling career, I studied basically languages. was always curious about spirituality, about religion, and about politics. I felt that they all went kind of together. You know, when you study history, you see how religion, politics really meshed together. They impacted each other. So I actually have, yes, a bachelor degree from France in English, but also in literal Arabic.
Okay.
At that time, living in Paris, we experienced terrorism attacks in the metros, in the streets. That wasn't what we hear as a nation, in America, we experienced in 9/11. We were already kind of experiencing on perhaps a smaller level in Paris on a regular basis. So for me, I turned to I wanted to understand, first of all, Islam. I really wanted to understand it. And I wanted to understand the politics from this region. So I have a bachelor degree in literal Arabic. And I thought that I would go into diplomacy. Oh. And then I came here because my father got very, very sick. And my father passed away around the same year that we had 9/11. I actually lost quite a few, not from 9/11, but from family that year. I had a lot of loss as well, as a lot of the people in our nation. And then it did something to me. I fell into depression for a little while. And then I took myself out of it, going back to what I knew.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And so then that's where you got into this whole healthy and then the transformation, especially from your story. I can understand how you would come up with a program that transformed health, because it is a mental thing. We were talking before we got started, and I said, losing weight and getting healthy is really a mental thing. I think at the end of the day, I can speak on it just because I've weighed 300 pounds, lost weight twice, and, maintaining today, but it's still a mental thing. Even with the confidence, like you said, you feel like my heavier weight was probably protection from something that I was protecting myself from. And that's why I probably had more confidence in. And now it's like a little bit more revealed, I guess. And it's kind of like, I wish I could see that. I never thought about it that way, but you triggered something in me. I was like, oh, I could kind of see that. Because I am a little bit more, I think, shy now, but people would say I'm not. So it's kind of like, to me, I feel like I am. But I'm probably, most people say, no, you're an extrovert. I'm like, no, I feel like I'm more, a little bit more hidden. But I just think from the whole thing with your loss with your family and, your dad getting sick, I experienced my mom getting sick and then moving back home and taking care of her, to, a different state. I had to do that for too, and that just also helps you to reconnect. But then when you're taking care of people and you're experiencing a great loss, you can sink into a state of depression. And it's important that you figure out how do you pull yourself out of it, or how do you maintain it, or even just be aware of, who you are as a person, and that you have a root cause to go back to, or you have those root foundations to go back to. Like for me, it's always, I grew up in Christianity, so I fast, I pray on a regular basis. That's just something that I do because that is my root, but then that keeps me grounded. If I ever have to, go beyond that, then I know. But I know, like on regular, I'm fasting, praying, something golf. I usually get into that, but just that helps you, of course, to have that foundation. But I would love to have had a childhood like that.
Yes.
I always tell people at this point, I think my dream house would be a place where I can have a farm.
Yes.
Grow my own food.
Yes.
Like, I don't know, like most people still are like some people are still on the whole big house and dream car thing. I'm like, no, I'm thinking like garden, farm, tractor,
Yes.
where can that be? Get some hens. I want to, raise some hens and so forth and some chickens.
Yes.
So forth. Like, I don't know, like I just feel like we're in that stage where a lot of people are getting back to that. So that's really interesting. Let's talk a little bit more about really before we let me re-up, but then I want to get into like really the things that affect our community and how you perfect that, Laure. That's fine. So If you're just tuning in, I'm talking to Laure Carter from LaureCarter.com. I'm your host, Ronnie Quest. Please share out this broadcast, comment below. We want you to join this conversation. Health in our community is something that we have to begin to discuss. Not only being at a healthy weight, but mental health is like so critical for us. So we're discussing this topic, but more on the healthy and transforming your mind. And then a result of it is weight loss. But we're looking for more folks to interview on Intellectual Chocolate. So go to intellectualchocolate.com if you're a brilliant Black mind. We would love to interview you as well. Now, I said we were going to go ahead and get into this conversation about heart disease, obesity, cancer, diabetes. We know that plagues our community. So if you could talk a little bit more about those things and then how you really help, especially women of color, which is just the backbone of the families and the communities and so forth. We're always doing so much. I feel like we don't take care of ourselves a lot of times.
Yes.
Forget about it. Yeah.
That's very true. First of all, most women in general we have ingrained within us to take care of everybody else. That's the truth for every single woman I have had the privilege to work with. And every time I tell them this story, and they know it, about getting on a plane, and just before the plane, flies, we have sometimes the flight attendant. Now we have videos and they tell you about the oxygen masks, right? And what do they tell you to do when the oxygen masks drop? Do you know, Ronnie?
Yeah. You're supposed to put on yours first before you assist somebody else's.
Exactly. Exactly. And then I go a step further. I said, because if you can't breathe, how are you going to, put the mask on your child or on someone else? You can't breathe.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, we've got to a point as women where we ignore the sign, where we're always like, so we're like holding our breath, trying to help everybody else, because we ignore the precursor signs. And we have to take care of ourselves. I'll tell you why. Because as women, we are the first educators. That's it. Period. We are the first educators. So if we don't take care of ourselves, what are we teaching? Where are we getting the energy to teach what we're teaching, what we have to teach to our society? We're the first educators. That's it. So it's not even at this point about, oh, I'm taking care of myself. Oh, it's selfish to take care of myself. Not at all. Not anymore. It has nothing to do with being selfish. It's selfish not to take care of ourselves. Because we can't take care of other people. We can't educate. If I may, I want to say, when this idea really hit me back in the day, when I was studying literal Arabic, and I had made a lot of friends in the Arabic community, especially from Northern Africa, Morocco, all of those places, Algeria. And as you know, in many of those countries, women's rights are still very much, there's still very little women's rights in many of those countries. And we were having amongst women a conversation about how men, about the laws of these countries, how men are completely disregarding women's rights and how unfair it was and all of that. And I was kind of in the back listening, and then it hit me, and with my very loud voice, as you know, I said, but hold on a minute. Who's raising those men? We are raising those men. So what are we teaching them? If we are the ones raising those men, creating those laws. So that's really when it hit me that this is not about being selfish. This is not even about self-care and self-love. This is about really applying, this is about really our duty as women, as in this world, in this society, and in this world. We take care of ourselves so that we can educate, train properly our children, the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So you were talking about why I'm, you were talking about the plagues in our community. And this is why my heart goes to the community, African-American community, but the community of people of color. In terms of statistics, just like to wake people up for a moment, I would like to say a few things. I wrote down just so that we are aware. So among non-Hispanics, Blacks, and I think this comes from the American Heart Association or Diabetes Association, one of them, among non-Hispanics, Blacks, age 20 and older, 63% of men and 77% of women are overweight or obese and more likely to have diabetes. 77%, okay?
Wow.
77 freaking percent. Okay, let's just wake up right now. Okay, I mean, no, come on. So for me, it's like we have to do something. And so it's interesting because when I started to look at this and let's talk about, you talked about cancer. According to the US Department of Health and Human Services, African Americans have the highest mortality rate of any racial and ethnic group for all cancers combined. Highest mortality rate. In 2010, African Americans were 30% more likely to die from heart disease than whites.
Wow.
African American women are 1.6 times more likely than white women to have high blood pressure. And it increases as our hormones change. So when I hear these things, there are two thoughts that I think about. The first thought is, I hear a lot of talk about being free, being mentally free, getting out of the slave mentality and all of those things. And for me, I think that we focus a lot on the outside in terms of our perhaps creating more exterior health, wealth, and abundance, having more jobs, opportunities, all of that. We focus more on the outside, but we're not seeing that we're still not at all free in terms of our health. So the second thought I have, with all of these diets, with this influx of juicing and all of this and all of that, why isn't it reaching us? Okay, why isn't that reaching us? So here's what I think. Here's what I come up with. First of all, and that's why I chose Ayurveda. That's why I didn't go to nutrition or dietetic school and dietitian school. I chose Ayurveda because I believe that in our community, what we really need is not another freaking diet. What we need is a holistic approach. And what I mean by that is we need to reach and seek what is going to heal us, not just on the physical level, but also on the emotional level, on the spiritual level, on the mental level. That's the real approach we need to have. And only a tradition as old, and which is, by the way, an indigenous tradition, can really provide us the tools. Why? Because whether it is, from my personal opinion, whether it is modern Western nutrition or modern Western medicine, and they do have some goods, but what happens is that their approach is fragmented. It continues to focus on the parts, good and bad, right and wrong. This part, it doesn't see the whole person. It doesn't see us as a whole person, not just today, but with all of our background, all of our history. And that is really important. No matter how we want to perhaps not see it at that level, it's just as important in our health to consider our history, to consider what has happened to us, where we're coming from, the kind of wounds that has created, on a mental, emotional, and spiritual level, as well as on the physical level. And I'm going to say something that might really irritate a lot of people, but let's look at how with this approach, this fragmented approach, is very Eurocentered. It's very Eurocentered. I mean, if you look at imperialism,
yes,
what they did, European imperialism or colonialism, or however you want to call it, is to take a people out of their roots, out of their history, out of their community, in order to overcome them, or in order to enslave them, basically. I tend to think, if you do an analogy, that Western modern nutrition and Western modern medicine in some ways do the same thing. We take a person out of the whole of this person. We take only, okay, the heart is not okay, so we focus on the heart. Well, no, there's so much more around the heart. We are heartbroken, okay? Let's heal our heart, not just through the foods we eat, which is very important, but also through all of the practices. You mentioned, your faith. I mean, even that, I see a lot of people of faith who still go out after church and what have you, and go and eat fried chicken. We have to have,
that's
in my
always
personal,
like the food that's at the gathering.
Exactly. And so there's a disconnect with that. And here's what is going to irritate people. Soul foods, in my personal opinion, is slave foods. So we're still carrying elements of that experience with us, and we expect to be free. We expect to thrive.
Right.
We have to take everything into account. And there's a very simple way, easy way to enjoy collard greens. We just don't have to put all the pork in it,
Right. True.
We can still have some of the foods we enjoy, but we have to really see how pernicious, Euro-centered things out there. I mean, I was talking about, all those diet and all those things. Where are they? How are they reaching us and what have you? They're not. They're not reaching us. They're staying, they're really things that are more available to a particular type of particular groups in our society, mainly affluent and mainly European or Caucasian or white. We have to be aware of that. So for me, I wanted to, first of all, find something, and I found Ayurveda, which is interesting. It's an indigenous medicine that comes to us as diet and lifestyle, but it's from India. And I believe that if we had an occasion, there are many similarities if we would study that in ancient Indian medicine with ancient African medicine, because guess what? A lot of them are very similar, just in the same way that in ancient shamanic medicine or, medicine from the South America are very similar. At that time, holistic medicine is the same. I talk a lot.
You're good.
I see your eyes looking
like
at me.
So that was
very passionate. So I want to educate, and it's a call for more people in our community who are passionate about health to look beyond what we know from the Western modern point of view.
Yes. I think that's where you touched on a lot. And I just want to touch on some of the things you touched on, because really, triggered some things in me to think about. Just the whitewash of history and the removal of who we are has really affected us as a culture, because we don't understand who we are. We don't know where we came from. We don't understand what our practices were before it was stripped from us. But a lot of us are really soul searching and trying to figure it out. But then when you begin to learn and you begin to understand, you automatically start removing things. Like, I remember the first time I lost 100 pounds, the first thing I removed was pork. Yeah. So pork has not been in my diet forever. But then I always tell people, if you're like trying to figure out, well, how am I going to let something go? Once you let it go for a while and you try to eat it, your body will reject it.
Exactly.
You will get sick. You will feel a change. So once you at least get your mental past that you're not supposed to be eating it anyway, then your body will holistically keep you on that wavelength. So you ain't got to worry about going back to it. You probably, sometimes, like, I can't get around pork. If I smell it, I get sick. So it's really interesting to see how much it's changed. But I used to, before I used to eat pork chops all the time and stuff. So, chitlins too. But I couldn't touch a chitlin today if I seen it, but that was 10 years ago. But it's a journey, right? To understand, just like it took time for it to be removed from us and for us to be our history forget, it takes time for you to relearn it, to put that new programming back into your system that we should have, so that we're taking care of our temple, which is our full body. And I also, I'm very passionate about it because I truly work out for health. I do not work out for a look. I do not work out to try to make myself look like I fit in a size 10 or whatever. I'm happy to be a 14. I am fine with it because I know I'm healthy. My mental health is good. The things I handle, everybody's like, I can't believe you can deal with so much. I said, because my mental health is good. I tell people I work out because it keeps my mental health in balance.
Yes.
I can tell when I'm off. I'll be like, hey, I need a moment, or I need to go work out, or, let me go, just meditate. It ain't even about the diet, but, some things you should omit from your diet. We got to stop eating flavors. I agree with you. Eat it in moderation. You don't have to give up everything, but learn how to eat things in moderation. Try to do your diet at least 80% healthy. That is not going to kill you.
Absolutely.
Make sure that other 20% is not healthy. Your body will get rid of it because you have now at least got that balance in. Because some people think I got to go cold turkey. When you go cold turkey, you're probably not going to see quite right. So, moderate constantly, just constantly remove it consistently, go slow with it. And if you continue to be consistent with it and get you a coach like Laura, and you'll be fine.
Yes. And that's one of the reasons why my program is 3 months, because that's what I teach. I teach healthy habits. It's crowd with the goodness. Mm-hmm. Then anything that is unwholesome for you will leave on its own. And then one of the ways that I do, because I really had to recognize that, I realized that many of us, many women, do not know how to prepare foods, how to prepare vegetables, plant-based foods. So I actually, in the program, teach how to cook with vegetables. We have 3 sessions in the 3-month program where, and that's why I went to cooking school, because I really wanted to find a way that we can prepare our foods that is efficient, that doesn't cost a whole lot of money, because plant foods don't cost a whole lot of money. And then how to look for it. When you're in a store, what do you look for that would be wholesome and good for your body? How do you shop? Things like that.
Yeah. You got me intrigued. So you guys don't take the program that's listening to it today. I'm probably going to take it, because I'm just all about, since I turned 40, I can tell some differences, and I'm close to my birthday, 30 days from my birthday. So every time it's my birthday, I literally go flying fast just to clear what to happen in the new year. So I'm in my fantastic right now. So that's why I had the juice out, because I actually period, just to be clear. I just like to do that. It just really helps.
Beautiful.
But I really love that you talked about that, because I think with understanding how to cook, and I'm not shocked a lot of people don't know how to cook, because I can just remember me growing up and me teaching other women that were close to my age or younger how to literally cook, because they don't know. I don't know why that's kind of went away, or not being taught anymore, or whatever. I don't know what happened. But my mom didn't cook in my house. My dad actually cooked in my house. So I grew up in a household where my dad was the cook. He was the worker too. He was a fireman. He cooked for the firehouse too. So, but my mom didn't really know how to cook. So I always was the one that cooked. But it's really odd that you say that. I can believe that people have to know how to just like make basic meals and healthy meals.
Yes.
Sometimes it's a lot of, because especially with a fast-paced society, everybody's going out, you know, buying food. And you know, the other thing I noticed, still on health, which is kind of bothering me, honestly. Every single place has delivery. McDonald's, Wendy's, they have some delivery app where you can now get the food delivered.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is too much.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
you know,
I know.
Convenience, but I'm just like, you don't need, like, I'd rather see more delivery from grocery stores than see it from fast food.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
just me, my opinion, you know. Yeah. But I was just like, man, people are not going to have to leave their house and they still can get everything they want at the comfort of their home, and it's still unhealthy. Like the unicentric approach of keeping everybody unhealthy, which we know then leads to medical costs, which leads to diseases, which leads you into this whole cycle of constant making sure your money's going out the door.
Exactly. You know, I'm like, yeah, we're talking about keeping the dollar in the community, but in terms of our health, we're giving our money away. I mean, I don't know, but medication, diabetes medication, heart medication, this is really expensive.
It is.
I mean, you know.
And then, you know, you got to think about it. And I think because it doesn't hit you till later on, like you said, we talked about our parents, we end up taking care of them. And then a lot of people complain that healthy food is more expensive. I said it's not as expensive if you end up having to take medication for your rest of your life, or you end up in the hospital.
Exactly.
You know, so what's the trade-off? Would you prefer to pay it now on the front end? And I think that's where we have to get back as a community to think about long-term.
Yes.
We always are into the day-to-day and instant gratification. And our ancestors were not that way. They respected the body. They respected the earth. They respected the things around them. We're not unicentric. We are. I remember I was, and we're going to end the video here soon, but you really got me thinking someday. One day I was riding a Uber driver. I was traveling. He was going to, I don't know, he was taking me to where I consult. So I think I was going on location. And I remember him talking to me. He was like, you know, one thing I have realized being in America, not from America, whatever, he said, you guys don't realize that people call African Americans. He said, y'all are chosen. He said, you guys are spiritual deep inside. And he said, really your community needs to get back to that spirituality. Now this was a foreigner that has been in America maybe a couple years, and he's the Uber driver, so he, you know, talks to everybody and, you know, exposed to everything. And he was like, there's something about African Americans. And that just hit me. And I was just like, I could see that. He said, you guys are really, he said, no matter what, you guys are still very spiritual. He said, you guys have to really get back to your roots. And so you really touched on that. And I really appreciate you being with me today. Any last comments or thoughts you have before we wrap up the session?
It's easier to start, is easier than we think. I really want to say that. And you touched upon it. And it's like you said, just beginning to take out certain things, or crowd more. I mean, we have, I know you mentioned, and it ties up to something that I really want to do. And perhaps it's a good opportunity, just in case people who see that can help me accomplish that. It's one of the things that you talked about is your dream would be to have a farm and live from the land and all of that. And it's wonderful. But we also want to recognize that there are farmers today who do that around us. I mean, the number of farms around me, I live in South Florida, and the number of farms who are maybe not totally organic, but because they're small farms and local farms, they still don't use some of the pesticides and herbicides that conventional what you call it, people who grow foods, conventional farmers do. And so they're here, they're in the green markets, the farmers markets. And so yes, so we can go to them, we can support them, because I really believe that one of the things that has to happen for better health for all of us across borders is conventional farming has to stop. It has to stop. We have to go back into smaller farmers, local farmers, supporting our local farmers, eating local. What grows in our environment is what our bodies need. And that ties into something that I really want to do. And I'm right now researching. I want to more and more connect with community gardens, small farmers. I would love to be able to set co-ops in our communities where healthy local foods are available, that no matter what is your income, you can have access to it. And then I want to train people to teach in the different communities how to cook those foods, how to make them simply, because it's great to have, kale, but then what do you do with it?
Right.
You want to find out and ways that your kids are also going to enjoy them.
Right.
So I want to take this opportunity because this is something that is really strong at my heart. Everything that I do goes towards being able to do that. So if anybody listening to this this interview is capable or has links or knows someone I could get connected with to begin this process, I think this could be done, and community gardens already exist. I think this could be done everywhere and so easily and so simply.
Yes, I agree. Well, I'm interviewing you, but I definitely have some resources for you. I'm blessed to live in a place where we have a lot of local farmers. We actually have one organic farm that's fully Black owned in our local area. I'm in Georgia, but they have a huge organization called Georgia Organic. So I do actually go to the farmers market.
Wonderful.
So I do have a lot of connections for you on that. So some people that are trying to set up co-ops and set up a community garden right now in my local area. So I will.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
And even with the food, it's one, we have one of the co-ops. They actually have created where you get double your food stamps. So like if you are a person, you can actually go to the farmer's market and shop. They have it once a month, and you can, your food stamps are double the cash.
Yes. Wonderful. So, that's amazing. Yes. Yes, definitely. Yes.
So yeah, it can definitely be done. I've seen it work. But we still have a mental block with our community of even them to do it, to use it once it's set up. So that you can help with that part, because I think what I see in my community, even though all these things exist, it still is a block for them to even come out and do it and use it. Yeah. So it's interesting to see.
Yes. We were talking about freedom earlier, that we're focused more on exterior freedom, not really realizing what's still happening on an emotional and mental level. Yes.
Absolutely.
Well,
I thank you for being with me today. So go ahead and give
your
contact information, then I'll close out after you.
Thank you very much for having me. I mean, I truly enjoy speaking with you, Ronick. And so my contact information, my website is laurecarter.com. It's LEURECARTER.com. You can find me on Facebook at Laure Lifestyle, LEURE Lifestyle, and on Instagram at Laure_lifestyle.
Nice. Now, I thank you for joining us today on Intellectual Chocolate. Remember, if you are a brilliant Black mind, go to intellectualchocolate.com and fill out the form. We would love to interview you here for a podcast. I'm Ronique M. West. You can follow me at Ronique M. West on Instagram and also here on YouTube. And check me out. Of course, I cover business mostly, but I love interviewing. So you always see me doing interviews too and bringing you more brilliant Black minds. Laura, I appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Don't forget, family, to tune in. Make sure you share out this broadcast, like and subscribe, and support Black media so we can continue to have these important conversations. And everyone have a blessed one. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.